Hello and welcome back to the channel. So if you've seen my last couple of videos, you have seen me playing with oil pastel, which is a very new to me medium. So I'm very early on in my journey. I'm learning what I like, what I don't like, what works, what doesn't work. Good method, good technique, good processing for using your oil pastel. So I'm going to take everything I have learnt over the last few days and everything I've got together and give you some tips and tricks to save you having to do all those things. I know, you're welcome. So I've got a few bits and pieces here that I have used so far to go with you. Tip number one, unless you're colouring on a colouring page and therefore stuck, really try and get yourself some decent paper that's going to work with your oil pastels. You want a proper pastel paper, something with a little bit of texture but not too much. Some of the thicker watercolour papers that are really heavily textured actually make it a little bit more difficult to work with, not easier. Have a little look and a play. I would imagine that these are going to work all right in quite a few of your nicer paper colouring books as long as you're careful. I would not recommend trying to make these work on Amazon paper. Having said that, unless if you put a layer of gesso down, will they work on top of that? I don't know. I haven't used it, so I suppose there is always options even for Create Space. And if you have tried that and it worked for you, will you let us know in the comments below so we know if it's worth it? I've got a few different paper pads here, and so far I've used and really have liked the Artful Premium Heavyweight Watercolour paper. This does say it's for use with oil pastel. Some of these papers, although they'll be, the watercolour, because pastel is an oil, it has a residue to it. You might find that it works with some papers and not with others, that you're getting some of that oil kind of seeping and lifting, so you'll have to see how you go. But this one has worked very well for me. I did get this in an Artful subscription box many moons ago. I've got quite a bit of it left, thankfully, because it's probably not cheap. But I have liked that. I have got some watercolour paper pads here from Stationery Pal that I'm going to have to try and see if they work. I've got an acrylic pad here from Arteza that says it's ideal for oil painting, and so I'm going to have a play with that and see what that behaves like. And I do actually have rather a cheap cold press paper here for watercolour from Boldmere. These are sold at the work stores in the UK. This is its 300 GSM. It's nice and thick. It's got a little bit of texture but not much, and I actually think these might work really nicely, and if it does, I would definitely have to get some more because they are a pretty good price. You get 12 sheets in this one. So your next step is do tape your panel down onto your desk. Number one, you're going to get it all over yourself. Number two, you're going to get it all over the things behind it. And number three, they don't sit still very well. But do not just use any old tape. Get yourself something that's low tack. Or, if this is all you've got, some painter's tape, just make sure that you take as much of that tack off onto your clothes as you can. And when you peel it back off your page, you need to peel flat and away from your paper like that, really slowly, so as not to rip the thing you've just spent all that time creating. As you can see, I did have an issue here before I paid attention to what I was doing. You've just got to be a little bit careful, but obviously if you've got too much tack on that tape, it is going to take the top layer off of your panels. So do tape it to your painting surface. It is a mucky medium, so just do your best not to get it everywhere. It is an oil pastel, so if you want it to stay still when you're done, you are realistically going to have to fix your page. Now, I have this Winsor & Newton. It's a brilliant fixative. I have used it on this panel here, and there's nothing wrong with it, so obviously, you know, it's going to do what it says it will. But this leaves a shine on my panel, if you can see that. Quite a shine to my panel. So I have actually just ordered, it's not here yet, you'll see it in a future haul video, of course, what promises to be a matte version, and we will see, we will see. I use this for things all the time, so it'll get used up, but I just really was interested to see if there's any such thing as a matte fixative. Some of them say they are, but we'll see. I'm going to get into technique in a moment. I just wanted to go through some tools. There's obviously different ways to handle and blend your oil pastels. I probably wouldn't use my technique, so I found the best version for me is, you know, to paint like a child with my fingers. I have checked the ingredients on the ones I have. They say they're non-toxic and there's no, you know, things like cadmium and stuff like that in there. So, you know, I can't recommend that because obviously, you know, some oil pastels may have some odd ingredients. A lot of people, you know, have there's a big argument over it, so you know, check the ingredients of things, check the safety before sticking your fingers in stuff. The alternatives are like a colourless, an odorless blending solution, blending stumps, or a blender pencil even I've found works in smaller areas. Obviously I won't want to use this on a background. I wouldn't really want to use this on a background. And worst case scenario, bit of paper towel, bit of old fashioned, will move it around. It is a little bit trickier, it doesn't move quite as nicely. You take as much off as you're putting on, so like I say, it's not my favourite medium, but I haven't kind of found my perfect way yet. Right, when you're working with your oil pastel, the way I found works better, as always, should have known this from the beginning really, because it's kind of a colouring rule, isn't it? Work in circles, work in small circles in your picture. If you're creating you know, a drawing, that's different, but if you're just wanting to create, you know, a background piece, like a galaxy, something like that, you've got to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. So circular motion into your pattern, and it tends to work out better if you use a set of colours. So if you want kind of a pink for the middle of your galaxy, you're going to want to work 3 pinks in there. I even added a bit of white. Your blues, you want 3 blues. Your purple, try and put at least a couple of purples in, and then I've got some black round. All in circles, working them in together. And what I have found over time is you do need to build it up. Build it up a little bit so you've got enough pastel to move. If you're doing something more detailed, so like you want to actually draw, that's different. But to create these background panels, you need quite a bit of pastel down, or when you move it around, most of it's just going to lift free and it's not going to move the way you want it to. There's not going to be enough oil pastel down on the page for it to move into itself properly. Obviously, what I really liked about this is once you've created that background piece, is the fact that you can then add these layers on top, and this artful paper really did allow me to pop quite a lot of pastel over the top. So yeah, that's kind of the technique I found works for me so far the best. I'm sure it will progress as I go. But then we have the oil pastels themselves. I only have 3 brands. I say only. I mean, who needs 3 brands? You need 1 brand, really. Let's be realistic. Use all your oil pastels up and then start on something else. But what I found was this set of Mungyo oil pastels for artists in this pale blue box art, I really didn't like these. I found that they just wouldn't move, they didn't shift, they were very bitty, very dry, very messy, and just didn't blend into each other. If they were my only box, you know, could I make them work? Probably. If I was a bit more skilled and a bit further into the art, I'm sure that I could very, very painstakingly make these work. But I don't want to. I've got other kinds, so I'm just not going to bother. I would be very interested, because I like Mungyo. They do have a set of oil pastels, soft oil pastels in, it's like a dark blue box. And I'll be honest, for the sake of science, I am really considering, I know, because I just need more oil pastels, but you know me, I want to be able to play with the different kinds for you guys and actually see which ones are a yes, which ones are a no, what should we do. These are an absolute no for me. If you've got these and you love them, I'm not saying, you know, well done you, is all I'm saying, but for me, on my beginner journey, I hate them. It's a strong word, but it's where I'm at. I've played with them, I've tried, I've messed, I'm done. So what I've also got is the Paul Reuben oil pastel in the 48 set, and these I really like. I would imagine for fine detail not so much, because these are very soft. So I found these for my uses for backgrounds. I really like these. You can see they've had a little bit of a hammering already, but I'm definitely a big fan of these. They're very soft, so for fine detail work they're possibly not my go-to at the moment, but I have a fix for that, so not a problem. So these are, I really like these. I like how soft they are and how easily they move for backgrounds, which is obviously what I predominantly want mine for. And I have already ordered the macaron scent. So I've got a pastel set of them on its way. So yeah, I know that happened. I'm terrible. There's a couple of other brands that I'm really interested in trying. I think I would quite like to get my hands on the Artex. Obviously, I mean, you know, if someone sent me a set of Sennelier, I wouldn't say no to a company out there, but that's not going to happen. But I might try and get myself a little set of those at some point. And let me sort this out. I am very interested, as I say, in trying the dark version of those Mungyo. So I probably will have a bit of a scroll through and over the next couple of months see about collecting a few different brands, mainly because, you know, as I say, if I'm going to show you these things, I want to be able to show you different ones, compare different ones, let you see the different ones that you want to get. And I am now very interested to see the differences, what works best for what things I can get from different kinds of pastels, different companies, what they offer, what they have. It's definitely opened up. It's opened my curiosity doors again. That's for sure. So I have had this box of Pentel oil pastels forever. I bought these a couple of years ago now, never touched them. They sat in my drawer. I bought them because I was kind of interested at the time and then never got round to playing. Probably because I may have got gel crayons around the same time, and obviously I did get into working with those and my inks quite a lot. These are a little bit firmer, and they still did blend quite nicely. These gave a much more impressive background than the Mungyo box that I have. They are a couple of years old as well, so I don't know obviously if they do dry out or not, but they seem to be working quite nice. I love that I could then also layer over the top of this panel really well, and that further oil layers sat on top of there really nicely. and I still managed to get, you know, a picture on top of there. Is really good. I definitely would use my Paul Reubens for my backgrounds. Number one, they're just softer and they blend a bit easier, but I think I'm going to keep this set predominantly for adding detail over the top. I really like the idea of that, and they're that little bit firmer, and they've got a nice square edge to them, so I can line in some details, and you know, when you just think, I think that might be quite nice, to like add grass tufts to grass scenes, or kind of shooting star elements to a night sky. I don't know, even sun rays to a horizon. Ooh, right, now I want to do a sunrise. I think you could get beautiful water scenes from these, from this medium. So yeah, you know, when you just like, I think they are definitely a keeper for me. I love that you can get 50 of these for this price point. I did have a look. I think they tend to be more along the £8 mark now. Like, oh no. As I say, when I bought them, they were £6 for 50 of them. I think that's probably why I never really tried them, because I just figured, oh, you know, my gel crayons were very good. These were very cheap, and just didn't bother with the mess, and now I'm kind of wishing I'd tried them earlier. But you know, these things are as they should be. Probably this was, you know, this Paul Reuben set was the perfect time for me, because maybe if I'd have tried something firmer that couldn't create the backgrounds that I wanted to, maybe it would have put me off and I'd never have really come back to this medium, which I've got a funny feeling is going to become one of my favourites. And in fairness, it shouldn't really have been that much of a surprise, because you guys know how much I like my gel crayons. So I don't know why I'm that shocked really, but I'm excited. I'm definitely excited again to be working with a new medium. And the final thing for me is I like that they're not a wet medium. I know, guys, I try my best. I try to love water, but it's not really my go-to for art. We all have our preferred things. So I hope this was a little bit interesting for you guys, a little bit useful, that I've maybe given you some tips, some things to maybe avoid. Or now try out of curiosity, just to see if you feel differently to me. I know there's very contrary people out there that sometimes think, well, I might like them, so I need to have a look. I can be one of those people sometimes. But yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. I will definitely, you know, I'm not made of money, guys. I know it seems like it, but I can't just constantly throw money at supplies. But I will definitely add oil pastels to my list. I don't really want to have a massive collection of them, but what can I do? If I'm going to try them for the channel, I'm going to end up with different brands. It is what it is. I just might make a slow video over the next few months, rather than trying to cram all those purchases in straight away. So don't expect the next video within the next 5 minutes of lots of different oil pastel types. You know, some of these things, these collections, they need to take a little bit of time. I am slowly learning over the last few years. I think I've had my channel for nearly 3 years now. Nope, I'm wrong. Just over 2 years, and I've been colouring for just over 3, colouring and collecting. I have a couple of hobbies, obviously. I'm sure you realise that, because I have a couple of channels. And only one room, so I do have to be able to fit all this crap into this space, because it can't expand. So yeah, love it. I really, really like, this is what sold oil pastel for me. I'm not gonna lie. You know, when you just create something and think, I really like that, I can see a lot of potential for the things I want to play with now. And it just throws you down that rabbit hole, doesn't it? I'm waiting on my matte fixative to try on these panels. I'll update you in a video at some point for whether they lied to me and whether it's going to be matte or not, but I love this. Love it. I still will need to try and create myself a soft galaxy background. We will see. So as always, guys, thank you so much for listening to me rant on. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any requests regarding oil pastels or any questions that you're left with, please pop them in the comments down below. If you've got helpful suggestions for people and for me, you know, for how to use and enjoy and work with oil pastel, or even any recommendations for some of the best maybe budget oil pastels that I can try out, then that would all be really appreciated. And happy colouring, guys. I'll see you in the next video.